This podcast is sponsored by YSC Real Estate Group, offering a tailor-made service, versatility and expertise for all your real estate needs. Are you thinking about selling, buying, investing or having your properties managed? For more information, check our website, www.yscrealestategroup.com. We are passionate about real estate and we love to support local businesses. We hope you guys enjoy the podcast. Cheers.
What's up, guys? What's up?
All right,
guys. If you guys haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button on Spotify if you haven't.
Yes, today we have a special guest, Peter Lai.
Heyo.
With Precision Auto Films, episode 44.
Thank you so much, guys, for having me. Love being back.
Lucky number 44.
40? No. But this will work out, right? So here's the Asian numerology. 4 squared. Wait, no, that's 16 then. Okay, so 4 and 4 equals 8, which is a good luck number.
Yeah.
So that will counteract the 4.
Yeah.
So
Sure.
you know what I mean? So it brings us back into a positive state.
100%. And
Numbers.
yeah, the Asian listeners will get that, but I don't think the Caucasian people will get that.
Oh,
Everybody else.
You'd be surprised, man. Like a lot of non-Asian people follow Asian culture, right?
True.
I'm not gonna lie. I hate when the large Buddha you see them a lot at the restaurants and they're at the front of the cashier, and then you see a whole bunch of people coming up and they'll rub Buddha's belly, and I get a little offended by that. You don't see me going to the cross and rubbing Jesus's shingles or his knees or his ankles, right? But to each their own. They all mean well, right? So it comes from a place of love.
Rubbing Jesus' thorn reef.
Yeah, we're like
From
pound
crown.
it.
For those that don't know what we're talking about, though, 8 is good luck, right? And
Correct.
4 is
Bad luck.
bad luck.
Yeah,
It means
Right.
death in
Yeah.
Chinese.
correct. Yeah.
And yeah, I guess we're here, episode 44. And if you guys haven't listened to the first one yet with Pete, I think that's episode like 20 or something.
Yeah. This is part 2.
This is part 2, and you're our first
Repeat.
Oh snap!
Yeah.
Oh, thank you so much, guys.
Yeah.
Honestly, you guys giving me that platform to come on last time was amazing.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie. When I have rough days or I just need to remind myself how far I've come and how much I've grown as a person, I listen to that podcast. So I hope, because I do listen to it from start to finish. So I hope your guys' numbers are good because of me too.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit skewed because I do listen to it often, but no, it's it's like a audio journal, right? Like we covered a lot of things on the last podcast. So
Interesting. You listen to your own podcast.
Oh, absolutely, because
Yeah.
it's well, and on top of that, like one thing I still need to get on is the 3 masks that Dave was telling me about the book, right?
We have it here. You can have one.
Okay, perfect. Right? Looks like
Oh shit! Look at that.
what was it
Mask of
purchase with
masculinity.
purchase. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, but and that's the thing. So it goes back to you guys brought a lot to the table for me to learn, and so I like going back to that podcast, re-listening, because it's just kind of like it's almost like a CD. You go back and you listen, you catch things, or you hear a different rhyme and a different reason for certain things, right? So it's really cool. I do love going back to it, and once again, like, it's so cool just to see the growth and the evolution in you guys, because that was the 20 number mark. We're at number 44 now. So just seeing the quality and the changes you guys have made. I mean, this is Joe Rogan's new.
Yeah.
It feels like we're in Nevada now, right? But no, it's really cool just to see the
Yeah.
growth in you guys. So
Because you came in that first studio.
yeah, the first studio, right?
yeah.
Where it was no video. Now we're on video. It got me a
Yeah.
little nervous.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I guess we've come a long way from that since you first came on. So
Yeah.
thanks for being a part of the journey.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
And what was you're right, because what's interesting was because you were coming on again, I listened to that episode just to kind of be like recap, right? And that was the first episode I actually re-listened to.
Oh, okay.
Because before, like during your podcast, I think up to like only 10 podcasts before, I was editing them, and I was sick of hearing my voice, and like sick of like editing it.
Yeah,
So I
no,
would
fair enough.
after I edited it, I was like, I'm done with this, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, re-listening to it, I was like, holy shit, it has been a long time, right?
Like, I've definitely listened to a lot of podcasts in between the one that we did, right? And I noticed a lot of the guests that you guys bring on, they absolutely, they talk about, behind the business, which is the topic, right? But I noticed that they don't really talk about the personal side and their personal struggles. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Maybe, to each their own. But when the three of us, when we spoke offline, I really wanted to integrate the personal side and the struggles that I had to deal with as a man, as a human being, as a husband, even, right? So,
Do you mind sharing just a quick recap of what the last podcast was about, to catch everyone up that haven't listened to that one yet?
as the kids would say, it's the TLDR. I just learned what that is.
What does that mean?
Oh, see, okay, sweet. I don't feel too old. TLDR is an acronym for too long didn't read. So, say for
wait,
example,
wait.
if you're on Reddit, right?
TLDR.
The original poster will write an essay, and at the very bottom he'll write TLDR, and it's a very, very, very quick summary of what was said beforehand.
Like the Cliff Notes.
Yeah, no, literally, exactly like that. So yeah, so anytime you guys want to just like give the cliff notes or the footnotes or whatever, TLDR, and you got that entire generation. I don't know what's the young generation now.
Millennials.
It's below that, isn't it?
Gen Z.
Gen Z, yeah. So yeah, Gen Z. My name is Peter. I own a business called Precision Auto Films with my wife Lisa Lai. We have been in business now for 5 years, and the first 3 to 4 years were hell. In all seriousness, the business broke me as a person and as a man. And I had to really, really fall down a deep, dark hole. But the best part was I hit rock bottom. And the only way to go after rock bottom is up. Just really briefly, I did have a failed attempt, which led me down a road of healing, learning about myself, self-improvement, and discovery. And by going down that road, it made me a better man, a better husband, and a better businessman. So that was covered a lot on the first podcast. So, guys, please, if you appreciate mental health and appreciate, going through difficult times, you'll definitely relate to the first podcast that we did together. So,
Yeah. That was a great one.
yeah, absolutely.
Tell us, like, because I know after the podcast, and we didn't have it on camera, but during that first podcast, I know it was very emotional in the room, and it was like your sharing. I felt like there was an energy of like it was just very. What's that word I'm looking for? Just very
I wouldn't say raw.
It was
Was
yeah
it-
raw.
did you say
Yeah,
raw?
it was raw. Yeah,
Okay.
that's the word. And I think a lot of people connected to that.
Yeah. It was real.
Yeah.
I think people appreciated it.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I think the three of us, we were just talking about this as well. Calgary is a very, very small network, and it's true. It's literally 2 degrees of separation here. And I think the three of us, we're known as nice, funny guys, very easygoing. You know what I mean? People gravitate to us, and not to and that's not coming from a place of arrogance or anything. But I think just because we do have a warm and welcoming vibe, people do gravitate to us, and I think that's why we've been successful in our careers, right? But when we started really getting to the nitty gritty and the darker times that I had to go through, but you could tell there was a lot of respect between the three of us, and we really, I definitely absorbed everything that you guys were saying, and I could tell you guys were absorbing everything I said. So you guys created that safe environment for me that I felt comfortable talking about it. If I didn't feel comfortable here, I wouldn't have said the things that I said, or explained what I went through. But by you guys providing that environment for me, it made it very easy for me to, talk about those difficult times.
Yeah. To share and open up.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like it's a pretty safe spot, and like from the comments that we were getting from the podcast and stuff like that, it's like it's not like a interrogation.
No, exactly. This is not like
It's just like a conversation.
I don't know if you guys watch like DJ Vlad, how he incriminates his rappers on his platform, right? So that's why people always joke. It's like, yeah, when you go into DJ Vlad's podcast or his interviews, you're going to rat on yourself, or you're gonna incriminate yourself, right? But no, and that's the thing. Like, you guys came here and you guys asked good questions. You guys asked questions that there was a answer that I could provide, but that had a lesson almost behind it, right? And I think that's the thing. A lot of people appreciated the things that we covered and what we talked about. And the three of us, we all shared our stories and our struggles. So it wasn't just me explaining my dark times. It was Dave kind of explaining his situations, Jay explaining his situations, and kind of us mixing it all together in one big bowl, and then for us to kind of feed it to the world, right?
Yeah.
Life is a struggle.
And you know what? I don't know how to say this without sounding negative, but it gets harder.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's supposed to. I feel like if you're not getting challenged in life, and it's just easy, you're playing on fucking easy mode your whole life.
100%.
You're not going to get any better because you've never experienced the struggle of things, right?
Yeah.
So like, I find it funny when people are like, I'm comfortable here, but it's like, well, then you're not living your life to the full potential, because comfort is a zone to remind you like you could probably do better, right? So.
That's a good way of saying it. It's just like, if you were playing Street Fighter as a kid on your Super Nintendo and you had Game Shark the whole time, what happens when you turn off Game Shark? You know what I mean? Like, your kid nephew who's just button smashing is gonna beat you with no effort, with no attempt or anything, just random button smashing.
Yeah.
But if you play Street Fighter and you practice it and you put in the effort, you put in the work, you can really, really create some amazing things, right? Weird comparison, but I'm gonna go with it.
Yeah, there was actually a really good conversation on Ben Baller's podcast with this big real estate investor in Seattle called Thach Nguyen.
Okay.
And he talks about how money is great, but like he always puts his kids in competitive sports as well too, because it doesn't matter how much money you have on the playing field of sports. Like, there could be someone richer or poorer than you that can be better than you because of the amount of time and energy they put into practice. And like, when you're on the field, I think these kids play baseball or something like that, but when you're on the field, like, there's no amount of money that you could pay the coach to keep on, to make you better at playing. So like, in order to get better, you just need to do.
Yeah.
Right.
And just because you wear Jordans doesn't mean that you're going to play like Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
Just because you have a Ferrari doesn't mean, I bet you put Michael Schumacher in a Honda Civic versus me in a Ferrari, he's still going to win just out of pure skill. It is what it is, right? But yeah, no, absolutely. Practice is such a big thing. And what was it? Practice is controlled failure. You know what I mean? So you can fail in a practice environment, and there shouldn't be any repercussions. And that should be your attitude, because if you feel like, okay, I'm going to go in there, I'm going to try something different. And you know what? If I fail, it's okay. No one's going to get hurt. I'm not going to lose any money. That's practice. So it's a controlled environment where you're almost welcome to fail, because you have that safe environment, right? So take advantage of it. And that's why I don't understand, now we're sounding like old guys, right? But the new generation, the young kids, it's just, everything is just so easy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even like learning something, they can just fire up Google. Now, mind you, if they fire up Google and put in a question, it might not be the right answer, but it's going to give them a good taste of it, right? Whereas with us, what did we have to do? We'd have to hop on our bike, go to the dollar taxi, the bus, right? Go down to the library, pull out an encyclopedia, and then filter it out, right? But, because you have to put in all that energy, you're going to absorb that information, right? But if it's just at your fingertips on Google, you're kind of like, oh, okay, well, I know I can access this again very quickly without any effort. Well, what is that going to do, right? So, so I think, technology and all these things to make our lives easier, great. But there's always going to be a catch-22 that comes with it, right?
Yeah. I was watching this interview the other day with Shaquille O'Neal. And like he was talking about how like his kids were like saying, "Yeah, we rich," and then he was like, "No, you're not rich. I'm fucking rich."
Yeah, no,
and,
absolutely.
He's like, "This is my money. This is what I created from it, right?" But like, he actually like if his kids have business ideas, he'll actually get them to pitch these business ideas if he'll want to invest. Like he'll have to go they'll have to go through like a business plan.
Well,
like,
and rightfully so.
Go through all this stuff before he'll actually invest the money as if they were a nobody, right? So it's actually pretty interesting how people will like or want to raise their kids in the new generation, because I feel like with our parents' generation, they struggled, so they want to give their kids whatever they wanted. But then it's like I feel like that's also a negative to them, because your parents are never going to be here forever.
Correct. Yeah.
So like if they don't have the skills to survive after they've passed, then you've also just kind of fucked them over.
Yeah, you're not putting them in a position to succeed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're doing everything for them, and you have the right intentions. You're doing it out of love. You're not doing it out of, spite or anything like that. So it comes from a place of love. But the thing is, you're not doing them any favors by that, right? Because you're right. One day, we all have to go home, right? Yeah. And that one day when you do go home, mommy, daddy aren't around anymore. Who's gonna hold your hand? Who's gonna open the doors for you? Who's gonna put out the red carpet, right? So.
Struggles.
Basically, you got to put in the work.
No, but isn't that always the core value of anything, right? Whether it's like online video games, you got to grind. Whether it's like you want to be a good basketball player, you got to put in those hours in the gym. You want to lose weight, you got to put in the work, right? So there is no easy way to what you want. And if there is an easy way, most likely you're going to lose it very easily or very quickly. Right.
Easy come, easy go. My mom always used to say that.
How did I forget that saying? When I was just regurgitating that, I was like, there must be a saying for this. But yeah, no, absolutely. Easy come, easy go, right?
Tell us how much has changed in the last year, because I know we've been talking. And you're like, oh, dude, I'm so excited to come in and tell you what's happened.
How's the business evolved?
Yeah.
Yeah, no. So a lot has, once again, a lot's changed in a small period of time.
Think about where we were last year.
I think it was more than a year ago, 2020, wasn't it?
Dude, it's crazy the listing that you guys have now. Like, when I'm scrolling through Instagram and I'll see it sometimes, you guys went from like, Mackenzie townhouses to like these Aspen houses, Mount Royal houses. You guys have properties on your listings. I didn't even know like things like that existed in Calgary. So that just tells you what kind of clientele you guys are bringing in now, right? So, good job to you guys.
We shifted a lot, actually.
We had to change our mindset on things.
Yeah.
But
we need to put that in the parking lot and circle back to that, because I would like to kind of understand what you guys had to do to change about your mind state to maybe obtain new clients or going after a different type of clientele, right? So definitely let's circle back on that one.
Share first what happened in your business and
in the last year.
So pretty much in the last like year and a half, business has been good. We've been steady, obtaining new clients as well. Biggest goal for me was I still wanted to do like project cars, like rather than just like, and there's nothing wrong with the bronze detail package, but those ones are not challenging to me, and they don't satisfy that craving that I have for projects, right? So we've definitely been doing a lot more projects, full wraps, full paint corrections, things of that nature. So that's been a lot of fun. So within a year with the shop, growing our book of business, bringing in new clientele. The best part is that we've pretty much broken away from all of our commercial contracts now. So it's a lot of retail, which is the fun. Like, that's the fun one. Don't get me wrong, dealerships are nice, commercial accounts are nice, but there's less personality involved in those jobs, right? It's just, here's the expectation. The bottom line is to save money and do it as quickly as possible. And that, like I said, I never wanted to be a volume shop or anything, so that's not what I value or what excites me. But we actually brought in a new body as well. He's amazing, like in the sense that he gets it from a standpoint, because he's a car lover by nature. but he also appreciates a properly detailed vehicle, right? So he's been amazing. And pretty much what led me to that decision was, so one day I was polishing a car.
Did you know him before?
Now, so here's the funny thing. So his mom and my mom are friends from back in Vietnam, like very close friends. And I don't know how they reconnected back in Canada, but they did. And Jason and I actually went to Chinese school together back when we were in elementary. So I remember him. And I don't know why. I always remember him in the cast for whatever reason. It's the weirdest thing.
Yeah, he got hit by a car.
In a cast?
Was it?
Yeah, he got hit by a car as a kid, and he broke his arm because he got hit and run in fucking Whitehorn. Oh, someone hit him in a car, and someone just found him like laid out on the street as a kid.
They left him? That's crazy.
Oh, really? Yeah. Well, looks like I got a story to ask him about on Monday.
Yeah, that's why he had that cast.
Oh, jeez. Okay, well, that explains a lot again. But yeah, no, so he's been amazing. But I'll tell you guys a story about what led me to that decision of... So Dave told me about Jason months before I actually reached out to Jason to see if he would entertain joining us. Mm-hmm. So I was polishing this car, and if you guys know anything about me, my passion is in polishing and paint correction. So I was polishing this car, looks good. Okay, bring it outside to do a review just to make sure I didn't miss any spots or I didn't leave any burn marks or holograms or anything like that. Brought it outside and it looked horrendous. Like it looked, and no shot, but it looked like a Kijiji job, straight up. Mm-hmm. And
this is after you did it?
Yeah, so this is after I did it. Now, I wasn't delivering it to the customer yet. I had just brought it outside just to review for myself. Because when you bring vehicles into natural sunlight, imperfections cannot hide from the natural sun. So anyways, especially on black cars, I always bring it outside just to do a quick walk around. So I brought it outside, wasn't thinking much, closed the door, turned around, looked, and my jaw just hit the ground. And I was just like, what the hell? And it was swirl marks and holograms, which means rookie mistake, was not paying attention. And that's when I knew, okay, quality is now dropping because I'm burning out, right? I don't mind putting in the long hours. There was definitely a good solid month.
What did you say? Swirls
and holograms.
Yeah, swirls and holograms.
What is that?
Yeah. So when you're polishing paint on a car, if you don't do it at an even speed or even pressure, the pad is like skipping off of the paint, right? So by doing that, you're gonna start getting these holograms.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Swirl marks.
Yeah, it's really common on black cars.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So if you ever see a black car specifically, and you see all those hologram and swirls, ask them where they got their car polished at, and then don't go to that shop because then because that's what it's from. It's from poor.
But can you remove what happens if the car has the swirls and the holograms? You could remove that.
Yeah, he polishes it out. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
so that's
it.
my bread and butter.
Oh,
that's
okay.
where I love doing my work is in the paint correction, right? Because a paint correction or a polish, think of it as like exfoliating your skin. What we're doing is we're going in and we're removing a super thin layer of clear coat where all those imperfections live, right? So same concept as exfoliating your skin. You're going in, removing dead skin, polishing, you're just removing dead clear coat. Once you remove all that, what's underneath? Perfect, clean, clear coat. And then that's what makes it look shiny. So when I'm going in and I'm doing my polishes, I'm doing a physical change to the vehicle. A lot of other guys will use fillers, they'll use a sealant, and what that does is it kind of fills in those scratches and swirls. So yeah, it looks good immediately, but 2, 3, 4 weeks later when it wears off, boom, scratches are back, right? So I was doing this car, and then brought it outside, and then I just noticed it was just horrendous. Like, you know what I mean? It almost looked the same as I started. And then that's when I knew, I'm like, okay, I'm burning out, the quality is dropping, and I'm making, in my opinion, unacceptable mistakes, because that should not happen, right? So that's when I knew, I'm like, okay, I really need to take a step back, reevaluate what's going on at the shop, and, try to find good help and someone that believes in the same methodology as I do, and just appreciates cars that I do. And Jason was a perfect fit, like perfect.
So you called him right after?
No, honestly, dude, like within the week.
Oh, okay.
Like it was that dramatic of a shock to me, right? Because like that was the thing. I take my work very seriously, right?
That's the thing people entrepreneurs I think struggle with. That's what me and Dave struggled with was we were too busy, and I think at one point this year we realized that we couldn't service all the business coming in.
The
how
quality was
you
kinda
want,
done.
how you want.
Exactly.
You guys could service it, just not to the way that you guys want, right?
Yeah.
Well, when you have so much on your plate, there comes a point I think in business and entrepreneurship where you bring it to a certain point and the business just keeps coming in and you think you can serve them, but you can't.
Yeah.
Kind of what you went through where you have this like epiphany and it's like I think we had an epiphany, Dave, when we were like, holy, our agents are closing our leads, you know,
And we're closing our.
and we're closing our own, and they're getting service better. How much money did we leave on the table?
Yeah, because we were essentially turning away business because we're like, fuck, we're over capacity right
Yeah.
now. So like
Yeah.
that's why we kind of grew the team to a point where we're like, okay, we could still service the clients that we want, like our existing clients, and
Yeah.
anything that is new from now on, we'll just delegate to the team, and then that way, like they're happy, we're happy, our own clients are happy. And we can still work on growing the business and having a more management role instead of being on the technical side of things.
Yeah.
So one of the books that Jason read was this book called E-Myth, which is like entrepreneurial myth. Right?
Okay.
So like it talks about being a technician, which means like you're in the work, you're doing the work, you're a part of the work. But then there's an also part on the other side of the business, which is on the business, which is the back end stuff, like marketing, branding, like
Yeah.
social media, website, all this stuff that's on the background. So
Yeah.
we wanted to kind of switch those roles and do more training and do more lead generation, stuff like that, so
Yeah.
that we can be more on the background of growing the business so that that our associates have more business to do themselves. Right. So,
I think that's what you went through.
Yeah.
You realized you are the technician and you are the business yourself.
Correct. Yeah.
Right? And it's a hard shift and change in yourself to actually get someone else to help you and support you.
2 words: letting go.
yeah,
Right?
delegating.
How hard?
It's really hard. It's really, really hard.
Jason had the biggest struggle of it.
I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
I am a control freak, and I'm okay.
And you're okay with it,
I'm
right?
okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then, if you are a control freak, and this is to any entrepreneur or business owner, if you're a control freak to a degree where you can't grow,
Yeah.
because if you control everything, you literally can't
You
grow.
lose control of everything.
Yeah. Well, because you're literally holding yourself back.
Yeah.
Right.
That's exactly
Right.
what I was
Which
trying
is
to say.
like you're getting in your own.
You
way.
are in your own way,
Correct.
essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, like it all has good intentions, right?
But was that a hard, like, when you realized that? I know it's just like, yeah, I just called him, but it's actually very hard to
Find good work.
find good work and get over that decision to hire someone else.
Oh, so here's the thing. Now that I love Jason so much, my fear is because
Now that you love him, but
Yeah.
imagine you didn't, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah.
well, and yeah, it's very scary because once again, because the clientele that we deal with, meaning like when I say we, I mean Precision Auto Films and YYC Realty, right? Like we're after a specific clientele, and they're going to appreciate that little extra touch of human experience, right? So my fear is if I bring in a body, will that person carry the same principles as I do, right? And, it's definitely something that could be taught, right? But hard work cannot be taught. And especially especially when you go north of 20 years old, you're really, your mind is kind of set in how it wants to think and how it wants to process things. So it was really, it wasn't hard, but it was just scary onboarding Jason. I knew from a technical standpoint that he would be fine. It was just, I was worried, was he going to be okay just really just yeah, I don't know what I guess I was just worried that he was just gonna see the work and he's like, yeah, you know what, because I'm a Toyota master technician, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
But he appreciates the sense of like he can just throw his headphones on, listen to a podcast, listen to an audiobook, and focus on his task. And he just needs that mind break right now.
Yeah.
So that's where he's at personally, I believe, right? So I can provide him that environment and give him those tasks, and he's been just smashing it out of the park, like amazingly, right? I shouldn't boost him up so much he's gonna start asking for a raise.
Yeah, no, Jay's good shit.
No, he's a good guy, and so now the fear is, one day he will leave because he's overqualified, right? But at the same time, as a friend and as a manager, for better choice of words, I want to see him succeed, and I genuinely mean that. And I told him, I'm like, look, Jason, now if by choice you're here in 5 years, by choice, then cool, I'm happy with that. But I know your goals and aspirations. If you are still with me in 5 years doing the exact same thing, I have failed you as a friend and as a manager. First as a friend, then manager, right? Because I do know him on a personal level. Now, if it was somebody completely off the streets that I had no personal relationship, then yes, I have failed you as a manager. But Jason, because there is history and I do know what he wants or what his end goal is, my job as a friend is to also try to help him get there, right? So we had a good chat about that, and I just told him, I'm like, look, I don't ever want to be a barrier between you and your goals, all right? So you let me know. I'm asking you for that transparency, right? You let me know what you need to get there, and whatever in my power I can do, you have my support, right? And I think just creating that bond and that open communication between him and I, he feels like he's maybe if he has better ideas at the shop, he's like, hey, Peter, have you thought about implementing this or da, right? And that's the thing, because he knows that I do respect him and I do trust his opinion. He feels comfortable bringing those things up, right? So I think having that open communication is just so important between your employees or between your clients, between your friends, between your family, right? Because if there isn't that open communication, you start wondering, oh, did Dave really mean this? Did Jason really say this? But did he mean something else, right? And then that's where misunderstandings happen. Assumptions are dangerous, right?
Yeah.
I think our last episode, and most episodes, it's for a good business to run, it's communication.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like that's the bottom line is communication. And I also think with growing businesses, it's a catch-22, right? Where you want your business to grow, so you need to bring people on, but you also know they're going to leave potentially.
Yeah.
And that's something me and Dave always talk about, where it's like, man, we train these people, we help them, and we want the best for them. But at the end of the day, there is that potential of them leaving.
Yeah.
Because so when you guys onboard new agents, we'll see, right? Because you two are partners, right? But then people you guys bring on, those are agents that are technically under you, right? So do you guys have that conversation with them? Like, okay, what is your goal? Where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 15 years?
We just started doing goal planning for the associates.
Yeah.
Right. And for myself, because every October, November, I goal plan for the year. And so that's like personal goals and business goals, because I like to track like what I want to achieve and what I want to get done. And then towards the end of the year, again, I'll analyze what I completed and what I need to work on. So I'm trying to kind of reinforce these good habits with the team. And that's why I've taken on more of the training aspect of things with the team, because like when you can train, you actually also better yourself and you also better your associates, so that like if I'm not able to service the client, someone else will handle it and they'll get the equal and same service as they would be from me, because that's how they've learned and how they were trained, right? So that's what I was kind of talking to you about, or what I was thinking about was like, if you ever feel that way, just make sure that the new associate will train the next one. So then that way you don't have to.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
Right? Because like if you can just send the training down the chain to somebody else, then you know that it's the same training that they're getting and that they've been trained on.
Yeah.
The training is easy. That's what I learned in oil and gas, because when I was in the field, we were always getting trained by someone that was higher up than us. But then once we became to that position of like a higher role, a higher mentorship, then we trained all the new associates afterwards. And then the company doesn't even need to train. You're just training these people for them.
And I think it's important to train or like to learn the business from the ground up, because like imagine if you guys came in and just bought a book of business from a realtor that was retiring, right? You guys buy this book of business for $1 million or whatever, and John Doe comes in and says, okay, Jason, I'm looking for this house, blah 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 blah. But if you don't know how to even sell or go through the legality of it or any of that, then what was the point of buying that book of business, right?
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, no, absolutely. Learning and training and working your way up from the bottom. Me personally, that has always been my preferred path towards anything, right? Because I hate, like, and that was the thing I told Jason too, right?
Yep.
I told Jay, anything that I would ever ask you to do, either A, I've done it myself, or B, I'm willing to do myself, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. How are you going to take instructions or, take instructions from a leader or a manager or whatever, but you know that they wouldn't do it themselves, right? It's just like you don't feel comfortable like following them into battle or whatever. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say I have this like military mind state, but I do appreciate that it's like, yeah, if you're going to be the leader, I believe that you should be on the front line rather than being the king all the way in the back, sitting on the horse, right?
Yeah.
I've never respected those guys. Like, you remember Jon Snow at the Battle of the Bastards?
Yeah.
But he was right at the front, man.
yeah.
That's like, right? And look, everybody follows him, right? King of the North.
Yeah, and I think that's what's important to be a lead, like about being a leader. The difference between being a leader and being a boss is like you're also on the ground doing the work as well, and
Yeah.
like you have to lead by example. You can't just be on your high throne, like you said, like in your castle while your soldiers are fighting for you. Like that's why to be an effective leader and a king, you need to lead by example to like kind of win the like the hearts of your people,
Yeah.
right? Otherwise, they're gonna feel a certain type of way if you're just sitting there, like counting your money like
Yeah.
Scrooge, and
Yeah.
they're on the forefront like fucking Tiny Tim asking for soup.
Well, no one likes a boss, right?
Yeah.
And I've never liked a boss. I've never, like, all my jobs that I worked at, it's just like, these are boss. Like, I don't like a boss, right? And I think that's how we run our business too. Like, I'm no one's boss. Dave's
Yeah.
no one's the boss. I'm
Exactly.
not Dave's boss. He's not my boss. No one, like, our associates, we don't even consider them, like,
We're all equals.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we all look at each other equal. And I think they believe in the culture that we're trying to create, that it's just like, hey, we're just trying to build something, and we need support.
Yep.
And as long as you guys could support and we could support you to get where you go, it's a win-win, right?
Yeah, let's do this as a team environment,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of businesses fail. It's just like, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
You know? And it's like, who wants to work for a boss?
No, absolutely. Oh, you sound like Dame Dash now. I don't know if you guys you ever see Dame Dash? He's
Yeah.
like, no, I don't work for people. I'm no, like, I have no boss, and it's hilarious. It's just when he-
Rockefeller, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
when he goes in these like rants, it's
Damon Dash.
hilarious. But
Oddly enough, I feel like they're my bosses. Like, I feel like I'm there more for, like, I will be there more for them than I feel like they would be for me.
Yeah.
I know
You know what I'm trying to say?
100%.
Like, it's just like,
But that's good though.
Yeah.
Because like when you are a good boss, you should be in a position of support,
absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And getting your, like, I guess your troops on the ground and making sure that they're getting the support that they need.
Well, and I think like ease of access.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, who wants to follow a leader into a battle where it's like, okay, you're gonna go down this road. Wish you the best of luck. And then it's like, okay, well, what if something goes wrong? How do I get a hold of this guy, right? Like, so it's things like that. But I honestly, Jason, I know exactly what you mean in the sense of like, even Jay, he'll like, he'll say it passively, like, yeah, sounds good, boss. And I'm like, and like, really, I cringe because I'm like,
Yeah.
just once again, I don't want to be considered. And you can, like, if you guys look at the 10 minutes before this, when I was talking about Jason and saying how boss or manager, you can tell I was really uncomfortable because that's the thing. I don't know how to say it in any other way. But I like when Jay and I are working together at the shop, we're parallel, right? The only difference is that I'm picking up the phone where he's not responsible for it, right? But I'm in the trench just as much as him, right? And I think that's why him and I we work well together. Same thing with your guys and your guys' team with your associates, right? Is because you guys are all parallel and you guys all work on the same playing field. They feel equal, and then they feel like, okay, I'm gonna put in my work because it's equals, right?
Yeah. It's more of a team environment,
Yeah,
like a team sport.
So what do you think the biggest thing you've learned since last year? You have one more support with you. Like, I think you moved your
Location.
You moved locations to.
So from a business standpoint, COVID, we were very, very fortunate and lucky to stay steady. And I think that was just from a lot of people staying home. The people who did have the disposable income, I mean, you guys can see the used car market. It's just stupid hot, right?
Yeah.
Like
Oh,
cars,
yeah.
cars that are like 20,000, they're worth 40,000.
Yeah.
Like, it's just nuts. So
So
we
COVID helped you. Helped you. Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like I'm serious. Like I don't want to say it like that, but we saw a growth during COVID.
I feel like maybe not restaurant businesses, but
Well, some restaurants, like takeout.
yeah. Well, takeout did good too, right?
Yeah.
But like, I mean, what businesses really got hurt during COVID?
Oh, bars got
Bars,
smashed.
airlines,
Okay.
you know,
I guess there's a lot.
supply chain, logistics.
That went left really quick.
But yeah, supply chain got hit, but it also made real estate boom,
Yeah, it drove the service industry.
right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, a lot of businesses got hit, but a lot of businesses
Yeah.
got better.
Yeah.
Or where they had to transition.
Yeah.
Even the restaurants, okay? The restaurants that survived was forced to do outdoor seating now.
They had to adapt.
Exactly. But now, in the long term, I think is better.
Yeah.
Because if you walk down Stephen Ave right now, all the restaurants
Have patios.
Yeah, have patios,
Yeah.
which was never, you know.
and that's definitely a half cup full way of looking at things.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
I think it's
If you
important.
could get past COVID, yeah,
For sure,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think obviously we all have COVID fatigue. We're all tired of it, but this is just the environment that we're in. It's a real thing. I'm not gonna hide the fact. I subscribe to the idea that COVID is my generation's World War III, and the world is asking me to wear a piece of cloth over my face, to wash my hands, and just be a little bit more cautious. And I'm okay with that versus flying overseas, having to fight in the trenches, wondering if you're gonna die every day. You know what I mean? Like I said, maybe that's dramatic. I don't know, but this is my version of a World War III because it's a worldwide pandemic. So I take it very seriously. Unfortunately, I've also seen a lot of close people of mine affected by COVID. Right? So, yeah, it's just it's a touchy subject, and I hope we get better, and I hope we can all come back together as a community and stop the fighting and the back and forth with people, right? Because it's sad. You can see COVID's really starting to separate and divide people, right? And
It's crazy, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
honestly, man, it's heartbreaking, right? But no, like yeah. So COVID was definitely
It helped you.
it helped,
Yeah.
and it didn't help. It's hard to say, but like I said, that's why I just count myself lucky and fortunate that we were able to continue building our book of business and growing. So we're really fortunate for that.
So how did you grow your business during COVID, or was it just coming in and then?
It was really just coming in, right? And I met some good people that I was able to network with that were in the car industry. So they definitely helped get my name out to groups of people that may have been a little bit more difficult for me to get into, right? So that was a really good thing. And just trying to stay consistent and being transparent and honest with our work. Those are really my three core pillars of my business that I want to build it on is honesty, transparency, and trust, right? Like you just hear so many horror stories about people going to garages or car dealerships and just getting screwed over. So it's hilarious when you can just be an honest person, try not to harm anyone or try not to rip anybody off, and good things happen, right? So that model has worked really well for me. And I think a lot of that had to do with my mental health as well. Like where I was before when I first came here on the first podcast, I was in the process of healing. And absolutely, I'm still in the process of healing, but I'm definitely in a place now where I know who I am. And there was a lot of self-discovery in the last 2-3 years, right? Just understanding, what's important to me now, what's not important to me, what's toxic in my life, what's not toxic in my life, right? So being able to define those things has really helped me grow as a business owner as well. Because when you're happy in your personal life, that will trickle down or bleed into your work life, right?
1,000%.
Right. Yeah. And customers they're not stupid, right? They know when you're having a bad day or they know when something's off because they'll say, oh, Dave's not usually like that. Why? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why did he respond so snarkily today or whatever, right?
I feel like that's with me right now. Everyone's like, why is Jason so stressed out?
Yeah. Did you notice how when you called me today, I just listened? I didn't give Jason any responses. I was just listening to his issues.
So much, yeah.
You know what's crazy though? When someone's going through something, right? Don't say anything. Just let them talk. Right? Have a little silence in the conversation, and you'll hear them. They'll start pouring things out. Right? Because I think they've never had a platform or somebody to speak to or to vent to. They just want that blank canvas.
Yeah,
right?
100%.
And that's the thing. So that's why, guys, and when I say guys, I mean listeners, right? If you guys know of someone who's, going through a hard time or is in a situation or whatever, no one's saying that you have to have the answer or the solution to it, right? But just pick up the phone. Just give them a shout. It's a very small little action, right? But small actions lead to large results. Mm-hmm. So just reach out to that person if you know that they're going through a hard time or they're struggling. And yeah, you don't have to provide the answer. Just listen.
Yeah.
Connection.
Mm-hmm. And I also think bringing it back to yourself and reflecting on it, because this year too was a very, very good year, mm-hmm. but a very hard year of like self-development. Like,
yeah. Are you talking in terms of the business or personal?
Personal,
yeah,
both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because like I always relate personal to business.
Sure.
And I always think business is a spiritual game. And as the business like blew up, it caused a lot of stress for me. Mm-hmm. I think Dave too. Where we had to reflect. Like the only person I could blame for this was myself, right? Uh-huh. Like it was like we wanted it, but we were like, what the fuck is happening right now?
but what is it?
Like being so busy where you don't even
have time to fucking think.
Yeah, you don't have time to think. Like you're done one thing, next person's called. You're like you're it's like 9:00 you get home, and then like you have like 5 missed calls, and you're like, holy shit, none of this is resolved, right?
Yeah,
it's like I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. And
sure.
It's like I realized you really had to look at yourself.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I was like, who am I being for me not to be able to handle this?
Who am I being?
For me,
okay,
to not be able to handle all of this.
Yeah.
Because I look at bigger people.
Okay.
Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos.
Jobs, right?
Anyone, right?
Yeah.
Their problems are 10 times bigger. They're playing at a 10 times more level, right? Mm-hmm. So I always revert that question. It's like, who am I being for me not to be able to handle my situations right now? And I was like, man, I'm playing a small game right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, don't discount what you're going through.
Of course
right?
not. Never.
Because the thing is, like, and that's the thing. Like, that's why I learned even with my wife, right? Like how, like, say for example, we look at a rich kid, right? And everything is given to them, and all the doors have been opened to them, right? They don't have to work for anything. Their version of a bad day may be, just a little drama between friends or whatever. But that feeling of depression or anxiety that they're going through, it may be the same feelings as we have when we have a friend who may be suicidal or da 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 or whatever, right?
Catastrophic failure.
Yeah. So that's why you can't really say, okay, my stress doesn't compare to their stress. The feeling that each person feels is probably the same. Now the situation is very different, right? But at the same time, I learned from my wife that you can't judge that person, or you can't judge their situation, because they're going to feel however they feel, right?
100%.
Guess what?
But I think being aware of it. So you, for example, you being able to listen back to your podcast, which is like a blessing, because that was you talking. But now you can hear yourself talking. So you're more aware when you re-listen to it, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Do you know what I'm trying to say? Like, once you become more aware, you're able to reflect on yourself a little bit easier and not go so hard on yourself.
Yeah, you have to acknowledge what's
That's what I'm
going
trying-
on,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's the thing, like the first step is acceptance.
Yeah.
And it's true though, right?
That's what I'm trying. Yeah.
And it applies
That's
to
what I was trying
everything.
to say. Yeah.
And it applies to everything.
Yeah.
So I guess, and tell me if I'm wrong, in your situation, you had to accept the fact that, okay, maybe this Jason that I'm becoming, because of the volume of calls that we're getting in or the volume of emails, is turning me into this person who I don't want to be.
That's exactly what I
So
went through.
did you even get to a point maybe where did you start resenting the business, resenting yourself, maybe even resenting Dave?
Oh yeah.
Right? Because you may look at Dave as like, okay, dude, you're like human nature. We always want to blame, right? We don't want to take on our problems. So like, was there ever a situation where you're like, fuck, okay, Dave is just working too hard. He's bringing on too many people. We can't handle this. This is Dave's fault. Was there any conflict?
We're pretty
Am
responsible.
I bringing up anything that hasn't been aired out between you two?
No, so the thing with me and Jay, how we run our biz is that, like, if something comes up, we have a problem with it,
Yeah.
we deal with it right away, just so that it doesn't get dragged into the business, and then, like, feelings get in there, all this stuff, because, like, that's how it was, like, when we first started the biz. But the thing is that, like, we've gotten to a point now where we're like, all right, let's just deal with this problem at hand, create a solution to it, and move on. Because there's no point of, like, lingering in this zone or, like, dwelling on the past, because it is what it is. What's done is done.
Yeah.
How do we move on from this situation? Right? So, like, we try to just keep the ball rolling as fast as we can. And then if there's something in the way, then we will, like, remove the debris from our own shit and then just keep on moving. So, and that's kind of what we've instilled in our own associates and stuff like that, to, like, just let go of whatever it is that's holding you back from achieving what you want to achieve and just perform, right?
Well, and easier said than done, of course, right?
It's very
It is.
hard,
Yeah.
and
But-
I think, like, open communication. But for me, I knew I had a problem that I didn't know how to resolve, and I took a lot of self-development courses this year.
Yeah.
Do you mind me like, was it is it something that we can talk about, or
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Our whole team takes it.
yeah, like
Okay.
even Tony Robbins, I like even books, like
Yeah.
I am very, people know I'm very, like, into self-development
Yeah.
and like put a lot of
Growth.
money, growth, and put.
what I want to ask is, like, can you give me an example so then that way I can relate to it? You know what I mean?
Oh, okay,
Does
like
that-
on,
does
so
that
you're
make
talking
sense?
about on the court.
Yeah.
Like what actually happened.
Yeah, exactly. So then that way I can kind of, like, translate it into, like, and that's why I like learning about these kind of
Yeah.
things, because then you apply that situation to your own situation and you try to apply that solution to your own situation, right? So I need to hear your story so I can remix it.
When I was going through this, the biggest one was you need to appreciate people because not everyone is like you. So not everyone does how things the way you do it. And that's a good thing. That's actually a really good thing, that, you don't have 10 of the same people like yourself doing the same thing, because you don't get diversity, you don't get
Different solutions.
exactly, right? And I think this was in the Tony Robbins course that I got this one out of, was like appreciate people more than don't have expectations of people, appreciate them. That's what I got. That was, like, the biggest thing I got. Because when you have expectations of people, your expectations of people will always fail.
Oh, dude, holy, that is so true,
Right?
Right, and yeah, you have to get rid of that expectation,
Dude, yeah.
And because that's the thing. Like, if I think, Dave is this type of, you know how people always say, don't ever meet your heroes, because your expectations will never be satisfied because you've
Exactly.
created this person
Yeah.
in your mind, and that's not who they are, right? Like, yeah, maybe that's who they are when they're on the stage, or when they're in front of a TV or whatever, right? But that's not who they are all the time, right? So yeah, no, that's so true about not having those expectations of people, right?
You can't really be happy. You will never be happy if you have expectations of people, because your expectations of someone is only in your head and how you create them. And when you just appreciate them for who they are, you can't really suffer from that, because like, you are who you are. Dave's who he is, and if I had expectations of these people, of you guys,
To be like you.
to be like me or a certain way,
Yeah.
you will always be unsatisfied.
Yeah.
And I think that's what was happening with me when we got so busy. I had expectations of how everything should be done at this level. And I was like, holy fuck. I'm not happy. Because why am I not happy? Because I have all these expectations. So how do you let that go? Well, you just appreciate them. Thank you for what you did. You know, thank you for that. Thank you for this. I acknowledge you for that. And that's it, right? Because at the end of the day, I know Dave wants to kill it just as much as I do. You want to kill it out of your business just as you do, right? But how to get there in my own brain is my own expectations that will always, if I had these expectations of people, you will never be happy.
So in your team, because this is specific, right? So in your team, you started appreciating them and the effort that they put in. But were you happy with the results they were providing you?
I have no expectations of results.
Yeah.
Oh, so that applies to the results as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we have a standard, I feel.
Yeah.
And I think me and Dave have a standard of how everything is done. But at the end of the day, I don't expect them to do what we do. And if they because they do what they want to do.
Sure.
And the way around that is another thing is, like, you can't manage people, you manage systems. So we're trying to create systems where we're managing the systems, because you literally can't manage people.
Yeah.
Everyone is so different that if you were trying to micromanage every person to do what, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
It's impossible. But if you have a system, you go, hey, this is the system. Did you do it? No. Okay, why did you
Follow
do
the
it?
system.
Yeah.
Follow the system.
It's like a standard procedure.
So kind of like a flow chart almost. Eh?
Exactly.
It's
right?
a standard procedure of how things go. This is the intake of the car. This is like, the keys are in my hands now. Okay, now we're gonna move the car to the back shop. Now we're gonna go and spray it down, let it soak a bit with some pre-soak. It's just like a process that someone follows, but it's not gonna be like, hey, you need to do this at like you just follow this process. And then you're going to be like, oh, there's not, like, you don't want to go back to this pre-soaking stage. Like, there's not enough water on the car. Because that's how you would do it. But the thing is that, like, there's no right or wrong way to do the pre-soak stage as long as it's getting pre-soaked properly. But if you have a clear and concise construction of how it is, then you just follow that systematic procedure, and anybody can learn it, and they can do it the way that they want.
So that's where I'm trying to get to now with the shop, right? But that's the way I've always kind of done it with my teammates is, this is the end result, and this is a time frame that we need to be working in. I don't care how it gets done. You just have to get it done, and this is the end result that needs to happen, right?
I think something that would help you, though, is the system, because it takes the emotional human being, like between you and Jay, let's say, out of it. If you have a system, and then it's like, hey, Jay, did you do this? This is the next step. And you have something else to look at versus like, yo, why didn't you do it this way? This is the way you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
Right? Do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, because Jay will now look at it. It's like his frustration will be with Peter, But if it's the system, his frustration is the system.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So there's
Yeah.
not that personal connection, right?
Yeah.
It's like Peter's not telling me to do this. It's the process, the policy and guidelines that's telling me to do this, right?
And the
so it takes
policy
the
and
emotion.
guidelines
Yeah.
is what gets the results.
Yeah.
And if you find like a bottleneck in the procedure, then you have to realize, why is there an issue here? And then when you realize there's an issue, then you can solve that problem there and add it to the procedure.
This goes back to the Toyota assembly line.
Yeah.
If to our listeners, if you
Shit,
guys
what's it
have
called again?
you know what I'm talking about though, right? Like
Yeah.
Toyota allows pretty much like every employee on the assembly line to have access to this like emergency stop button, right? And for example, like an American car company, they'll hit that red button 4 times in an hour, for example, right? I'm not sure about the numbers, but like 4 times. Toyota, their employees will hit that button 180 times in an hour. And the reason why is because they're the ones on the front line. So they know what works and what doesn't work. So Toyota welcomes that conversation of, okay, if you can find something to be more efficient, please come talk to us. We're not gonna scold you for it, right? So that gives a little bit of ownership to that employee to say, okay, you know what I mean? It's like, I do have the power to make change. And it empowers them to do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Sigma 6, it says.
Where's J Mac when you need him? We were talking about this the other day, and he did poof. He's like da 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 da. I'm like, wow, calm down there, initial D.
It's like lean manufacturing and Sigma 6. So it's like a process that they use to kind of optimize things. And like it's a good way to just like have a streamlined process for something that that can be managed easily.
If you look at all the top like businesses, even like a lot of podcasts that we've had that have like 5+ employees,
Yep.
they all have a system. You know, that book E-Myth talks about all systems, and that's I think what we're trying to strive for is just having a system where you work the system, you don't work the people.
Yeah. No, and and that's why so at the beginning of what you were explaining there,
Yeah.
I'll say I did not agree with it.
Yeah.
But then once you kind of explain to me and the result and why you're
Yeah.
doing it like that, I'm like, now I understand,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. And imagine if I was just closed-minded right from the jump. I would have been like, no, that's stupid. No, I'm not gonna listen to what Jason has to say. But
I didn't
shut
even
up.
know what I said. What did I say?
Expectation.
Yeah.
Oh,
but-
expectations.
Well, that's what started it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But talking about put it on the system, right? Have it as the system, so then it takes and this is the way I'm interpreting it. By having a system, it takes the emotion out of it,
That's exactly
right?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I think now, and no fault of anybody's, but we're in a society where we're like being able to talk about your emotions and your feelings is more welcomed, and that's great, right? But let's use that to our advantage in the sense of okay, we can talk about emotions, so let's remove the emotion from this part of the conversation. Let's just do this as a business conversation, right?
Yeah.
And I think that helps people like understand that it's like you're not attacking them as a person. You're just trying to find a better way for them to succeed, right? And the end goal is you always want somebody to succeed, right? Because if your associates succeed, what happens? You guys succeed. It's it's that chain of command, and you just want it to work well. It's just a matter of fact of figuring out how to make it work well.
Yeah, I think it's like if you have a high expectation of something and it's not getting done the way you want, you're just letting yourself down. So it's like, don't micromanage people. Just let people be who they are and let them do things, but give them the training and like systematic processes of how to achieve something and make it your own, right? Like there's no right or wrong. Like there's more than one way to skin a cat. You know? So it's like as long as they know what to do and like they're not doing any harm in the business and the brand itself, then like let them do what they need to do.
Yeah, let them experiment, right?
Yeah.
The biggest example of this is McDonald's. Okay.
Okay.
Their whole business is a system.
Correct.
If you think about it, how can they deliver hamburgers to millions of people every day within minutes? They have a freaking system.
Yeah.
You know, it's like they've pinpointed how to run their business by a system like so good that they could repeat that model, right?
And that's the expectations too, right? And that's why people like McDonald's, is because when you go into a McDonald's, you know exactly what you're getting.
Yeah.
It's that consistency, right? And I
Most
think
of the time.
most of the time, right? But like that's the general idea.
Yeah.
And why do, like, you know, let's just say for example like McDonald's, right? We go to Africa and we want to get a bite to eat. We see a McDonald's or we see this food stand. You know what I mean? Like, we're in Africa, we should try the food stand. But our human nature will want to go something that we're comfortable with, something that we're familiar with,
yeah.
right? So then we'll go to the McDonald's. Once again, it kind of goes back to, with you guys want your clientele to have that consistent level of service and to know that they're going to be taken care of each and single time, because that's the consistency, right?
Yeah, you too, though. Every business,
100%.
right? Yeah, right.
Yeah. With me, 100%. It's the consistency of the vehicle is going to get this end result each time. But that's when I started realizing something was wrong, was because that quality was going down.
Yeah.
And that consistency was going down. So I was like, okay, something needs to change, because obviously I'm doing the same thing over and over again, and now my results are differentiating, right? And that's not good. So that's when I had to really take a step back and really evaluate what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. Is it working? Is it not working? Right?
If you created a system, though, for yourself on how to do all that stuff and written it down, right? Like, it's the secret ingredient of how you do it, right? Even if you don't feel like doing it and you follow the system, it will still get the results.
Yeah, in theory, exactly.
Yeah, but what you did and what you found in that took self-awareness.
Yeah, and you know, and that's what I really appreciated about our last conversation, was the mental health side, right? And that was the thing. It was crazy the amount of people that came up to me after I did the podcast with you guys to say, you know, Peter, we had no idea, right? And that's the thing, because
Did that open you up more after?
Oh, 100%, man.
Yeah.
And that was the thing. It took a lot of, like, I have always been trained to be a very private person by nature, right? So I was never the guy that was on Twitter or on Instagram or Facebook. I don't have any of those as my personal accounts. So for me to even come onto this podcast, that was a big step for me. For me just to open up. And this is not a private podcast. Anyone in the world can listen to it, right?
Yeah.
So it took a lot, but then I looked at this as a opportunity to challenge myself, right? To make myself uncomfortable. So by being in this space and being vulnerable and telling my side of the story, it made me more comfortable to face a lot of things that I had going on. Because once I did this podcast with you guys, I was like, okay, that wasn't as scary as I thought it was going to be.
Everything's out there. Everything.
Yeah, but and that's the thing. And you know, once it's on the internet, it's there forever.
Yeah.
Right. So everyone knows about my trials and tribulations, right? But that's okay. Like,
People don't feel so scared to share that, though. I don't know why.
share.
Like their failures, their vulnerability.
It's okay now.
Yes.
It's okay now. But in the,
After you shared it, though, right? Or was it always?
yeah, definitely. So people would come up to me and they first, say thank you, or they would say, Peter, I didn't know you were going through that. And then secondly, they would start talking about their situation, right? And of course, I appreciate and I find I'm honored that they would come and talk to me. So they have my undivided attention after that, right? So then we'll sit down and we'll talk about it. If I can help them, because that was the thing when I was sick, for a better choice of words, I had lost a dramatic amount of weight. I wasn't eating, and even if I did eat, I would just vomit, right? And then on top of that, I was abusing the opioids, and I've been sober now. I think like for 4 years. So like, honestly, like I'm super stoked about that, right? Yeah, just being able to talk about what I was going through and just facing it head on. And that was the thing. So like, you guys give me that platform.
It set you free.
It opens up
Absolutely.
the real world, essentially,
Yeah.
when you're not holding on to that.
That's why you kept messaging me. When can I get on next?
Oh, no, seriously, right? And 'cause it's like, you know what? Like, it did a lot for me.
Yeah.
I have no problem admitting that, because once again, this gave me a platform for me to try something that I never thought I would do, and I was super uncomfortable with, right? But you guys created that safe environment for me, and you guys made me feel very comfortable. And then afterwards, just the amount of people who reached out, whether it be personal or business or complete strangers, right, because of the podcast, was amazing. And once again, you it was really weird people, or no, sorry, not weird people, but people I didn't think would reach out to me and that were struggling, right? So for them to reach out and take that first step too, I was like, I hope they feel as not enlightened, but like I hope they feel as good as I did when I was on the podcast, right?
And liberated too.
Yes, yeah, liberated is a great word, absolutely. And it just felt like, that was a challenge to come onto this podcast and talk the way I did, and I survived, and there was a lot of good things that came out of it, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess what I wanted to really come back here for round two was to just to show people the growth in me, and to show them that, yeah, you know what, you can come from a very, very dark place and make it out. I mean, I have scars from it, but I wear those scars with pride, right? Because they made me who I am. I had to go through all those bad experiences and those dark times and those lonely times, right, to become who I am today, right? So I look back on them. They're not regrets or anything, but I look back on them and say, okay, that decision just helped carve the person I am today, right? Because I'm sure a sculptor they'll make mistakes, but they can turn that mistake into a beautiful thing, right? So that's what I try to apply to my day-to-day now, is that, yeah, accidents will happen or problems will occur, but how can we twist this into a positive or like a learning experience? That's helped me a lot with my just day-to-day.
Yeah. Well, they say, like, a good quote is like by Marcus Aurelius, is that we suffer more in our imagination than our reality. Because a lot of the stuff that we create in our mind, the suffering that we create, is like, it's in our thoughts.
Correct.
Right? And when your thoughts create your mind, and your mind creates your world. So if whatever you're thinking is going to project into whatever you do, right? Whether
100%.
that be your personal life or your business or your relationship, anything, it's like we create everything from our thoughts. So when we have that kind of awareness and self-awareness to monitor your thoughts, then you kind of have this like God view of like everything, that like things could be worse, right? And once you have that understanding of gratitude, then you take yourself out of that space of like what I don't have.
And yeah, just to add to that was the thing. I stopped looking at the things I didn't have, or I stopped looking at the negatives in my life, and I started being grateful for the things that I do have, right? And that's not just to say that I'm accepting what I have in my life. I'm just appreciating what I also have. And I just look at that and I'm like, okay, but how can I better that, right? And how can I create a better future for my family, or become a better person for my family, right? If I'm happy and if I'm good and I'm healthy, then I can protect and I can service my family and my friends and loved ones much more, right? It's just like the whole airplane mask. You have to put on your mask before you help anybody else put on their mask. I never understood that analogy, right? Until I went through what I went through. Because I was saying, until I figured out what was wrong with Peter, I couldn't help anybody else. Who's going to take advice from me when I'm struggling, right? Like, you're not going to take financial advice from a guy who's in debt, right? So,
Yeah.
so Dave taught me this great tool or exercise. So he says, 2 weeks out in your calendar, book time for yourself, whether it be getting a haircut, whether it be going out for dinner with friends or for drinks or whatever, right? So I've started doing that and implementing that into my life, and it's worked amazing.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? Like, I have these like free couple hours to do what I want to do, right?
Yeah.
And it's really, really empowering. So anyone who's struggling to have those kind of things, just seriously pull up your calendar, book 2-hour slots or whatever, couple weeks in advance, and start planning. And that was what Dave said. He's like, plan your work life around your personal life. And great tool. So thank you for seriously for introducing me to that.
Yeah, it helps.
No, for sure.
I needed that because fucking COVID, like, we were just working so much. Whenever we had a time slot available, we were just working. So it's like, damn, like, why am I working so hard if I don't have a life?
Yeah. Like, what's the purpose, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this year has been just massive growth and development. I always check in with myself. I do a weekly check-in with myself every week, what I could work on. I'm always, I do wake up early, and I do have my own time in the morning.
Oh, okay, that's good.
Is,
Yeah.
like, I need that. That's like meditation, reading, or even stretching, and just like asking like some specific questions, right? But I do think like you do need to check in with yourself and have your book that time in for yourself. Because once you book that time in for yourself, then you're okay to give up the rest of your time.
Yeah.
Because you should be your number one priority, right?
And I think that's why it's important for us to talk about what the three of us do in our personal time, or things that we do to help get the stress off. Because that's the thing. I think, yeah, we can say all these great stories and stuff, but if we don't tell people how in practice, then, you know what I mean? Then I don't think it shows them a path.
A lot of drinking.
I don't drink. I haven't been.
Yeah.
I've been having a glass of wine or like a drink at night, but no, I wouldn't recommend that. But
you know what? In moderation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
The way I see it is, we're all going to have our vices and things like that, right? Some people, like my wife, for example, her vice is Candy Crush, right?
Oh, yeah.
So, hey, but you know what? The thing is, the way I see it, she's not hurting anyone. It's in her own time. And it's kind of like how she escapes a little bit, right? So go nuts.
Yep.
And for me, I smoke marijuana. It is what it is. Now, do I smoke during the day? No, because I know how it affects me. So I don't put myself in that situation, right? But yeah, in the evening when I know all my responsibilities have been taken care of, yeah, I'll spark a joint, and that's like my beer.
Your reward, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, right? But like, once again, I don't do it until my chores list is done, right? So, but yeah.
I like reading.
Yeah, no, that's great,
I've been
right?
reading a lot more lately, so
Yeah.
we'll give you some books before you leave.
No, and yeah, because like I've been listening to a lot of like YouTube videos talking about like histories of companies, things about history in general. Actually, one of my favorite things to do is after watching a movie, I go onto IMDb, Internet Movie Database, I believe, and there's a section in there for movies called Did You Know? And it'll just be like hidden tidbits and facts about movies, right?
Yeah.
So I just love those, like, those little tidbits of information, because I think if you can learn a lot about a person's journey or a project's journey, then you kind of learn like what worked, what didn't work. How did they try different things and failed at it and learn from it and stuff like that, right? So I really appreciate learning the structure of things.
Dave, do you have any last questions?
What's the sweetest car you've worked on lately?
Lately. Oh, shoot. I had a gentleman with a R33 Skyline.
Oh.
And it was right hand. It was actually my first manual right hand car I've ever driven, right? So the first thing I got in his house, I was like, shoot. I'm like, where's gear one? Is gear one all the way on the left, or is it all the way on the right, right? So that was like, my struggle for the day, right? But like, no, that was a really cool car to work on. And that's the thing. Like, don't get me wrong. All the cars that come into my shop are cool. Like, I love all of them, right? But that's the thing. I treat every car the same. So I don't feel that nervousness, or I don't feel that sense of urgency, because I genuinely treat every car the same, right? And this is when I knew I was in the right industry. This is when I think Lotto Max was at like 65 mil or whatever, right? So when I'm the kind of guy that I'll buy the quick pick with the extra $6. That's it. Because I believe if I'm meant to win, I'm meant to win, right? So I was daydreaming about what I would do if I won the lottery. The first thing I thought of was, I'm like, man, I would build myself a sick garage so I could polish with these like sick lights and da-da-da-da. And it was all about detailing. And I was like, shit. I was like, literally, if I were to win the lottery, the first thing I didn't think about was quitting my job or quitting the industry. I was like, now I can just be selective of my clients, or I can have a sick, like, at that point, it's not doing it for the money. It's really just doing it for the satisfaction and the love of what I do. So I really stopped and smiled, and I was like, shit, okay. I've been able to achieve that thing that a lot of people they only dream of their entire lives, right? Like, everyone always says, find what you do or find what you love and you'll never work a day in your life. And it's so true. they don't have the luxury of even trying that route. Like my parents, for example, my father, he's a mechanic. He's supposed to be a mechanic, but because my brother and I were born and, you know, fresh immigrants from Vietnam, my dad had to sacrifice that dream and work at a meat packing company for 25 years. That's just what he did, right? So I think, like, you know, if I couldn't go after my dreams because of my responsibilities, then all my father's sacrifices were for nothing, and I won't let that go in vain. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, when I do have those days, I do have to come in at 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning or stay until like 11 p.m. I think back to what my father had to sacrifice, or the struggles that he had to endure to give my brothers and I the life that we have, and, you know, and that snaps me back into reality. And it's like, okay, you know, check yourself, you're good. Okay, go back at it. Drink some water, and you'll be fine, right? But yeah, like, that's the thing. So I think just be grateful for what I have has done wonders as well.
Yeah, I thought about that too. I was like, what would I do if I won the lottery?
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
What would you do, honestly?
I'd probably be doing the same shit at higher level.
Yeah, you probably
I
just
would
be like
not-
flipping houses
Yeah,
and stuff,
I was
right?
like, I would not be not working. So I'm here, and yeah.
Like,
But that's a great place to be in, and yeah.
like with your career, you mean, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Any last words, Peter?
Really, I just want to say, guys, like, thank you so much for having me on again. It's so cool to see the evolution. Like, you know what I mean? Like, next thing, I hope we're in a warehouse that's like Joe Rogan, like a man cave and stuff like that, right? But like, yeah, no.
Where do you think you'll be next year on
next
the
year?
podcast? Where do you see your business going
what's
next
in
year?
the next 5 years of
You know,
precision?
truth is, I would like to have more of a team environment with the cars, and then yeah, just I would like to see a lot more team members inside the shop so that I can just focus more so on the paint correction and polishing, right? That's always the end goal. But yeah, I think, yeah, that's what I would like to see, and obviously just the volume build up a little bit more. So instead of doing 1 project car a week, we would have 3 project cars a week, right? So just seeing that growth, I would be ecstatic.
Well, you can make it happen, man. You got another year, right?
Yeah,
So much-
exactly. So yeah, I'll see you guys back here next December. But no, really, guys, it's always a pleasure seeing you two. And I know I said this last time, but it's very, very easy to root for you guys. Like, you know what I mean? It's like when I see you guys doing well and I see the properties that you guys are being involved in now, it's like, damn, that's an easy double tap. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
damn right, I like that picture.
Well, thanks, Pete.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on.
Oh, no doubt. Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, man, it's excited. I was excited to get you on this time because like you're the second one,
The recap.
the recap, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and we'll see you next year. Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
thanks.
Where can they find you guys?
Oh yeah, so on Instagram they can find us at precision_auto_films, precisionautofilms.com as well. Our website is under construction right now. It just has detailing information, but this winter, that's definitely one of my larger projects, is to go in there and have a little bit more information around paint protection film, window tint, and ceramic coating. But yeah, anytime, guys, we're super active on Instagram, so you guys can see what we do on a regular daily basis and how we do it and how we try to separate ourselves from other detail shops and installers. So yeah, give us a follow on Instagram and hit the subscribe button.
There
I've
you
always
go.
wanted to say that.
Awesome. Thank you, Pete.
All right, thank you,
Pete.
guys.
All right. Yeah, peace.